Okay, so this is the fun part, the polish. This used to actually be my least favorite part because we all know the pains of polish, the smudges, the smears, the dry time. But with Color Street, you don't have to worry about any of that. This here is the Beijing Beauty. It's a basic red. So I'm going to show you some of the tips that I've used since I've started using this. And I hope it'll help you to apply it. So when we open the pack, in the package, you will get 16 nail strips. And then in here, there is also a nail file and a prep pad. And this is basically just an alcohol prep pad. So the nice thing about having these in the package is you can actually carry this anywhere and you'll be ready. You'll have your nail file and your prep pad with you. So what you want to do is you do want to use this prep pad. This is going to clean off any oils or any dust that you might have on your nails. And so be sure to clean every fingernail thoroughly and don't forget the borders so you can get all of that. So make sure you clean it with a prep pad. This is going to make sure the surface is clean and dry. For some, if you have oily nail beds, the most recommended tip that I've heard for nails that are a little bit more oily for those type of nails are washing with Dawn soap. The blue Dawn soap is very good at cleaning that up. And for some reason it has to be the blue one, so there's something about that blue Dawn that makes it clean the nail thoroughly. Okay, so I'm using the prep pad to clean all my nails. So they are now clean and dry. I may be using this a little bit later with another tip that I have for you. Okay, and then, so what I do is I always have scissors handy, but if you don't have scissors, there is a little slit on the package right there that it will help you open the plastic package. Just remember that when you open this package, it's like opening a bottle of nail polish. This is 100% nail polish. And once you open it and you take them out, you are going to smell that nail polish. Okay, so you get 16 strips. And since you only need 10, because you have 10 fingers, you will have leftovers. Now, here is another tip. So you are able to get your feet and your hands out of one set. The way I do that, and it all depends on the size of your toes, of course, but I like to keep the largest size for my big toe. So I am going to do my toes. I'm going to use the two biggest sizes for my big toes. And then I'm going to use the smaller sizes for my little toes, for the 4 toes. I think these on my toes, they cover probably 3. I think I can't get the 4th toe in, but since here I still have 12, I'm going to have some extra nail polish for any extras that I need for my toes. But always be sure, I always like to get the largest size and the smallest size, and I save those for my toes. Okay, and so now I have these to work with my hands on. So for short nails, you may be able to get 2 fingernails done with 1 strip. And the way I do that, of course, it all depends on the length of your nails. So this length may or may not give me enough for a second nail. So when you look at my nails, I'm going to try to get 1 strip to cover both of those nails. So how I do that before I apply it is I do a little test before. And this is assuming your two pinkies are the same, your two pinky nails are the same size. So what I do is I fold it in half, because then that way I know it's half of the strip. And then I put it over, put the nail over this way. So I put the end of the nail here. And when I notice that it extends past the cuticle, I know that I have plenty of room for a half strip. And then I can do it on this side also. It looks like I do have enough for this. Okay, so what I do, and I always have scissors with me. Scissors are pretty useful to have. You don't have to have scissors. I can show you another tip on how to do it if you don't have scissors. But for this example, I'm going to use some scissors. So I fold it in half. You won't damage the polish. And then I just trim it. Cut it in half. Okay, and always remember you got to pull off the clear cover first. Okay, so this is going to have the tab, but since I cut it in half, this one doesn't have the tab, but all I do is I just go to the corner and kind of play around with the corner here until they separate. Then you can lift it. Okay, you take it off of the backing. And what you want to make sure of is not to touch the cuticle. You do not want the polish on the cuticle. Okay, so you just smooth it out. And here you'll see, let's try to focus on here, that you do not want to put the polish over the cuticle. You want to make sure it's on the nail only. That's very important, because if you do put the polish over, not necessarily the cuticle, but what they call the nail fold, where your skin is, you don't want the polish on your skin, because then when the nail grows out, that part is going to stay lifted. Okay, so I applied here. Now for the end, since I have this excess on the end, there's two ways of doing this. The way I like to do it is I just tuck my other fingernail, with my other fingernail, I just tuck it, and that will trim off the polish. So you see there, I've already trimmed it off. Very, very easy. Now for this one, I can use for my other pinky. So this is nice because you are using one strip for two fingernails. Okay, now on this side, it was a lot easier to peel. And then from here, I just pull this tab off. And then I can use this for the other side. And then just align it. Make sure you don't get it on your skin. Okay, and then typically what I do is I go and I run it through from the base to the center of the nail. And then you'll see how on this side it's still lifted. I kind of go at an angle to the sides and up. You'll notice on when I do the other nails that helps, especially for the bigger fingernails. So here again, I just want to make sure I don't get it on the skin. Okay, so here in this example, I have some on my skin on the side. A great tip is to get your fingernail and just run it back and forth. And that is going to trim off any excess that you might get on your skin. And just run your fingernail back and forth. Until it comes off. Okay, on this side, I don't think I have any getting into the skin. Okay, and then the same as I did on the last one. So I had mentioned there's two ways to do it. The first one is to trim it off with your fingernail. The other way, and I'm just going to use my glass file, although you do get a nail file in the package. The other option is to get a nail file and to just file it off, and that'll trim off the nail polish. I am much more comfortable just doing it with my fingernail. Okay, so my pinkies are done. So you'll notice I do my pinkies first, and the reason I do my pinkies first is you're going to need your index finger and your thumbs to apply the nail polish. And so it's always good to start with the pinkies and work your way towards your thumb so that you don't have nail polish. You don't want to have nail polish on your thumbs and your index finger while you're working with the rest of your fingers. So it's a good tip so that you don't have to wear out the nail polish on your thumbs when you are doing your others. I just softly check and see if I have it aligned. In some cases, you can pull it off to realign it. Just make sure you don't attach the entire nail and the entire nail polish. So just make sure you try to get this as centered as possible to the base of your nail. And then once you do that, just run it up the center. And then with your thumb, just smooth it out. I kind of like to go V shape outer that direction. Okay. In some cases, if you go this way, this might happen where you get these little ridges. Okay, not to worry. If it's still wet, you just keep rubbing it. Okay, and they will go away. If you do still have them, this is a good time to use. This is the alcohol prep pad that I had earlier. It's already dried out, but the fabric makes it a very nice material to smooth out your polish. Okay, so if you ever get those ridges on the sides, just keep smoothing it out and they will get smoother. Okay. And then up here, so it did work. It barely had enough polish to cover my nail. In this example, I'll use the nail file to show you how it can get trimmed off. So if you do use the file, I suggest you go downward. And then that can also trim off the excess polish from there. Okay. Now here's another tip if you don't have scissors, and I may not do it perfectly because I typically don't do it this way. So always take the clear off. But here's another tip from some of the stylists that find it easier to do when you want to use one strip for 2 fingernails, is pull it from the tab and keep the backing. So it's just like folding it in half, but in this case you're peeling it first as you fold it. Okay, and this is going to keep this side of the polish preserved, keep you from touching it too much. And then with this, then you can align this end to your fingernail. Then you smooth it out. Okay, so with the backing still on the other side of the polish, I'm applying this side. Okay, I still have some ridges, but it's okay because we're going to smooth it out. And then from here, you just tuck the polish in. Okay, so this way you don't need scissors, and you have this other piece that you can go ahead and use on your other nail. Hopefully it's long enough to where I can use it on the other nail. So now we're down to the index and the thumbs. So just to be a little bit more careful, but the nice thing is, of course, that it's already dry. So let's get to the index fingers. Always, I can't emphasize this enough. I've heard stories where the clear stays on, and if you are using the scissors, when you cut it in half, this clear cover is very difficult to take off if you only have half of the strip. So that is my warning to you. That looks a little crooked. So be sure, if you just place it lightly. You can see if you applied it a little off center, and you'll be able to lift it off easily. But that's only if you lightly place it on top. If you put it all down and then you need to remove it, it makes it difficult. So just lightly place it over. If it looks pretty good, then smooth it up into the sides. Just checking to see if I have any of this on my skin. And sometimes, even if I'm not sure, I just run my fingernail a few times. One, to get it to place well on the fingernail, and then also run it a few times like I did earlier, just to make sure that there's none touching the skin. So then when the thumbs are the ones to apply, again, these are the last ones you want to place. Okay, so in most cases, I like to put the wide one. My thumbs are very, very wide. A lot of times the polish doesn't extend all the way to the side. There is a possibility that you'll be able to stretch the strip a little bit, but do not stretch too much because then it will tear. So when I do a polish where I know I may barely have enough to extend, I kind of do carefully give it a little pull to try to get it to the edge as much as possible. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that side. Anyone who has thinner nails is not going to have to worry about that. So it's all about the sizing. And typically I would use the widest one, but since I want to also do my toes, I've decided to use this one, this size. Okay, now this is the part where I may want to just use the nail file to trim this off, because since it's still a little bit wet, there's still that 5% that's wet, it may affect the placement of this polish. So for this very last one, I do want to file it and I always file downward from the polish. And then after that, you just clean up whatever pieces you need to clean up. So that little tiny piece is still hanging out, but should be able to rub off. Okay, and so I have this one left. So for my toes, I'm going to use this for my big toes. And what I do with my big toes, because they're actually wider than this strip, let's just say this is my big toe, I apply the strip in this direction because it is pretty wide, and this works great. These are for my little toes, and then I still have enough in case my other little toes need some extra there. And if I were to have longer fingernails on my hands, I still have 6 extra strips. So you do have plenty in here that go a long way. Okay, and so one of the last tips I'd want to show you, actually I have 2 more tips. So the company says that this is a one-time use. So what I said earlier about once you open the package, it's going to start to dry. So this nail polish, if I were to leave it like this, tomorrow it's going to be dry. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to be able to use it anymore. Okay, but there's a tip, little insider tip. And I'll just show you where the company does tell you you need to use it immediately after opening. They will begin to dry once they are exposed to air. Okay, so there's a secret though. The secret is this package that it came in. If you place them back in the package, if you have something hot, so a hair straightener works great. Also a lighter. Some people like to put it over their stove, but what you want to do is you want to seal this. You want to make sure it's sealed so that the air doesn't dry out the rest of your polish. So I like to use a hair straightener. This one isn't hot, so it's just for demo purposes, but what you would do with a hair straightener is you just put it over in this direction, seal up the plastic, and it should last you for another use. Also, what I found out recently is, and you can even just fold it in this next example, is if you put it in the freezer, for some reason the freezer will help it last longer. So those are 2 ways of preserving the polish if you don't finish it. You make the most of your purchase. So since I'm done with the red, I'm gonna keep them in there. But a couple more tips I want to give you. So if you have damaged nails, if you have nails where, you know, you had gone to get gels and acrylics and your nails damaged and you have that indented space that you have to wait for until your nail grows out, it is going to show up on the solids. You will see those little imperfections on the nail. But a tip that I like to give, if you are waiting for your nail to grow out, is to select a color that's a glitter, because the glitter is going to help offset any imperfections that you might have on your nail surface. So here's an example of the glitter nails. So you see that sparkle? That sparkle is going to help not show any of those ridges. If you have very defined ridges, that also helps if you don't want to buff too much. So very thin nails, any type of damaged nails, glitters are a great option. And this one I like to show because in a lot of cases, we all think that glitters are a bit too flashy and, you know, it may be too much for your nails, but I like this color because it is a neutral And so at a distance, it's not too flashy. So that is a great option if you feel your nails are too damaged. And speaking of glitters, I am going to show you this one. So this, sometimes we like to have accent nails. You can layer Color Street. You can layer different colors, especially if they are semi-transparent. You'll get a lot of different combination of looks with it. I'm going to put this one over my ring finger. Again, make sure you're not putting it over the cuticle. Okay. And when I put it over, you can see the red underneath. So this is a really nice glitter that you can put as an overlay. Polish is done. Polish is almost dry. I love putting these on right before I go to bed, so that as I'm sleeping overnight, the polish will fully cure. So you can actually touch these now. You can go about most of your day. I would suggest not to do too much intense work with your hands. So you don't want to go, you know, scrubbing the floors or doing anything too intense, because you do want it to dry. So if you're short on time, a really great tip is to do it right before you go to bed, so that as you're sleeping, these will fully dry, and by the next day you can jump in the shower, wash your hair, and not have to worry about the polish messing up.